Hey guys, it's Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner. Today we're going to be making another fun lineup card. This time I'm using a couple of die sets that I've been wanting to get and I didn't get them when they first came out. Just got them in recently and I don't know if you know about it, but I love card dies. I don't know why, but I think they're stinking cute. And then, of course, this one has a gnome. So this one is called Gnome Drive Holiday, and they have add-ons, and Easter's coming. So I'm going to do our little Gnomey as an Easter bunny. That is going to be so cute. And let's just see if we can make those car lights light up. So I've got all the bits cut out. I've cut out the little gnome. I've already put together a bunch of it. The main part I wanted to show you guys was assembly of the car and then installing the lights. I'm going to try something and I hope that it works. If not, that just means I'm going to need to recut out some things. So some of the dies in this specific die set cut multiple pieces. For instance, this one cuts this down below, the bumper, and the rear view mirrors. Great. Only thing is they're different colors. So I wound up cutting different colors. I want my tires to be black. I want all the chrome. I love the chrome. So I've got all the chrome going on using the mirror cardstock from Spellbinders. I'm going to go ahead and start assembling this, and then we're going to poke a couple of holes to put our little lights in. And if things go as I anticipate, then we will be able to add our little lights on there and not have any kind of problem. That is my goal. I'm going to start off with the wheels, mostly because everything is made to kind of puzzle piece together. And I'm going to go ahead and apologize now because if I don't sound like my normal self, that's because I'm tired. I just got back from Creativation where I got to hang out with Amanda Stevens with Pear Blossom Press, and she is such a super sweet lady. Love hanging out with her. But yeah, got a lot of stuff done. Very happy with the trip, but I am kind of wiped right now. So if I don't have the energy level that y'all are used to, I do apologize. It'll come back. I just need to get a few days of sleep first. Go ahead and put the little bumper on there. And the mirror cardstock does not really like to hold, so I am going to hold it down for a second, and then when it's dry, I can move on to the next. Okay, so more of that mirror cardstock. This is for our radiator or front grille. And I'm doing all of this over a piece of cardstock so y'all can see it, because it wouldn't really be visible on my black mat here. And again, I'm just going to hold it for a second to give it a chance to dry. Okay, so the very top piece, like in the picture here, that top piece on the headlight, I cut out of some vellum. Now it's also got a little slit in there. See that? So I don't want to put my hole behind that because otherwise it's going to just come straight through. And I actually want the vellum to help to diffuse it a little bit. So I've got one, I'm holding it in place just so I know where. And really, the die has a little dot there right in the center. So that's where I'm going to poke through. I'm just going to use my pokey tool for that. And be gentle, be careful, especially if you have your finger behind there like I have. I have my finger back there so I know when it's through there, so I can make sure I don't rip anything else, but I also don't want to push it so hard that I hurt myself. You guys, err on the side of caution. I don't want you to hurt yourself. Okay, so now the hole is partially through. I just need to finish poking that through. I'm going to do that on both sides so then I can install the lights. So I always say to test first thing. So I do have everything in place for one of our little lights. This isn't final, but I wanted to see what it was going to look like with it through the vellum. Now, when you look through there, you can see there's something there, but that's kind of like when you look at a headlight of a car. Anyway, you can, if you look close, you can see the bulb in there. But when we turn it on, I think this looks perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I need to create some kind of a background, and I'm going to poke a hole through that so that we have more space to hide all of our little wires. I cut some white cardstock using one of my frames. This is from the Essential Arches yeah, the Essential Arches dies from Spellbinders. And then I ran it through this nice 3D embossing folder that has all these little bows and ribbons. I think this is so pretty. This is going to be my background. So it's not a realistic background. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to glue this on top and then poke the holes through again through the second. So I can have everything. I can have my mechanism behind this panel with more room to work with. And you won't really be able to tell. But yeah, it's going to look out really, really, really cute. So let's go ahead and just glue this straight down. And get that positioned on my embossed panel. And then, of course, we will be putting an acrylic block over the top because with that those raised edges, it sometimes doesn't want to stick all the way. And we want to make sure that this stays in place. This kind of makes me feel bad. It makes me feel like I'm poking his little eyes out. But that's not what we're doing. We're going to add lights there. So anyway, I'm poking the hole through that second piece of cardstock that we've got that's embossed. Okay. Now I'm going to take my light. Now I didn't show you this guy before, but I'm going to go ahead and do that now. The way that these come, this one was from a 5-pack. They're all attached. And this is the last one I've got in there. So I've got my battery. We've got my little mechanism here, and then we've got the 3 lights, okay? So what you want to do is you want to put the flat side of your battery and just slide that in. By the way, this does have a plus on it, the battery does, and so does the mechanism, so you know which side is supposed to touch. And then you press the button to test to make sure that the lights work, and they do. Now, you may realize that, you know what, we're doing 2 lights. We're not doing 3. That is totally fine because you can cut one of these off. So that's what I'm going to do here. What you want to make sure is to not cut the other wires by mistake. So I've got them kind of separated out. And then I'm going to just cut the ones for one of our leads. There we go. And then I'm going to be using these 2 for my headlights. Now, the hardest part for me, anyway, you may not have this dexterity issue, but I always have a problem getting the light to poke out the way I want it to. The way that these are designed, we've got a yellow side and we have a silver side. The silver side is basically where the wires are soldered to the LED, and the yellow is the actual light. And I want, this is just me, I want my yellow side to be showing through that hole. So what I wind up doing is trying to line it up and then press it in with my thumbnail to try to hold it in place, and then get some Scotch tape. Any tape will do because this is not going to be seen on the back. Get a little piece of tape and tape it in place. And if it's stuck in there enough, just holding the wires will hold it in place enough so you don't have to worry about it. So now that one is in that headlight, okay? So now I'm going to turn it back over and I'm going to test it to make sure that it is working. And it does. I'm going to do the same thing with the other light, but before we do that, why don't I go ahead and show you what my plan is. So these little pieces here I did out of vellum, and they do have that little curve over the side. So I'm just going to be placing it right over the top. And since this is a small enough piece, I'm just going to put some adhesive over the entire thing and spread it over. You're not going to really be able to see it. And then I don't want it to go that way. I want it to go that way. It's kind of going to look like it's looking the opposite direction. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit more to try to make it stick. Because what did I say earlier? That the mirror cardstock really doesn't like to have glue attached to it, but when you get it all done, it looks so lovely. So now I'm going to just put that one in place and put my acrylic block right over the top again and let that dry. So we have our little headlights, yay. And then the rest of the wires we're going to be able to just tape to the back after we know where we want this to go. Now this is normally the place where I would say let's go ahead and do that, but I don't know exactly where I want to put my button yet. Okay, so what I'm going to do instead, that's one of the nice things about it still being flat, so I'm going to go ahead and start decorating. So we need to put our little, we need to put our little guy in there, which I need to now lift my car up some so I can get my little guy in there, or I'm going to have to cut him, which I may still do both. There we go. So I'm going to put my little gnome in the car. Let's see how far I can get in, see how much I need to cut off. I'm going to have to cut part of him off. So I can have him way up high, but I don't really want him that high. So I'm just going to trim off his feet, and then we'll be able to tuck him down into the car so it looks more like he's driving. That's going to be perfect. Okay. And just looking at that, because he is so light, it's a little bit harder to see. I just realized that. So I'm going to do lightly a little bit of ink onto the background on some of those raised bits. This is kind of my process. This is kind of what I do. I never know for sure what I'm going to do. So what do? I just sit down and play and let the card just come to life as I go along. So I get a little bit of ink. This one is Crown Me, and I know it is juicy. Okay, that's not too bad. Yay. I'm just going to go over the top here, and it should mostly touch those raised edges, and all this is going to do is kind of make a little bit of a halo or highlight around him so that we're going to be able to see him better. But to be honest, I think I like that. I'm going to go over most of this background. Just look at how pretty those little ribbons are. Okay, and then I'm going to kind of just do a little bit of a light wash coming down so that it looks a little bit gradient coming down instead of doing the whole thing. But I think that's going to be enough to make it pop a little bit behind our little gnome. Let's take a look. Now you can definitely see him a little better. Perfect. So we're going to go ahead and start tucking that in, and I'm also going to put an egg in the car with him. I think I'm going to do the orange. I don't know what all I'm going to do. I'm just going to decorate and play a little bit here. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it at that. Perfect. So I think what I'm going to do, why don't we have the button actually on the egg? I think that would be fun. So for that, I'm going to take out a stamp set. I haven't taken out a stamp set yet with this. And this one is one that is from Pear Blossom Press. This is their stamp and die bundle. So we've got dies to make it easier to do a lot of the different things, including some little teardrop shapes that are really candle flames. And we've got all these fun stamps. I'm going to do press here right on our bunny, right on our egg. Okay, so I've got this layered up in my Misty. I think I have the stamp right side up. I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to take a little piece of plastic. I'm sure I have some somewhere on my desk. Why don't we just take the acetate from the back of the stamp set? And I'm going to put that down in my Misty, covering up where that stamp is. And I'm going to go the opposite direction, go that way. I want to basically put it into my sticky mat so I can hold it in place better. And I'm going to add just a little bit of ink, just because I need to be able to see that. And while I'm at it, let's see. I think I'm going to still go with the purple. I think that'll still show up pretty good on the orange because this is such a dark color. You could definitely basically hide your words. And I didn't put enough down to be able to see it. Let's try that one more time. Okay, it is the right direction, but going over that little squiggle on the orange, I can't really see it. So that little idea may not work. We're going to still try it. Just took this one off. And I'm going to go with some black ink instead of purple because I do want it to be seen this time. I have hidden them so many times. Goodness. But this time I'm going to just go in with some VersaFine Clair. And there we go. Now we have our press here right on the egg. Okay, I will need to let this dry, so I'm going to hit it with my heat gun, and then we can start adding basically putting everything in place and then getting it all onto our card. Sometimes I get so excited about the lights that I forget, oh, I should probably add some of the other things. So that's what I've been doing. There's some flowers and everything that are in that Easter add-on for the little car. So I had already cut these all out and put the flowers together. So now I'm just adding some of those bits in some places to go along with our fun Easter design with our bunny gnome. And then we can start adding that extra dimension that on most of my videos, I say something about foam is life. Well, you know what? The foam from Pear Blossom Press is some of the absolute best. And as soon as they get different sizes and stuff, I'm going to be switching all of my foam over to them because this stuff is absolutely fabulous. Okay, so the foam I'm talking about is this. This is the world's best foam tape, and it actually is. I've got a roll that's almost done. That's what I'm going to be using. A couple of things about the foam, if you haven't seen this before, is number one, it is double thick. So the thickness is perfect for our lights. It is the exact size that it needs to be for that to make it so your card is going to be flat. They're not going to be able to really tell where your mechanism is. Okay, so there's that. The release paper comes off super, super easy. Have you ever struggled with any of that? But the best part is this stuff is repositionable, which means if you mess up like I do when you're putting your card together and you put it a little bit crooked and you're OCD like me and you have to fix it, you're not going to rip your card stock because you've got a half hour for this stuff to get finished up. Okay. So now what we have to do is we have to put our button behind our button, right? So I'm going to use some double-sided tape for that. And I'm just going to add some tape to the front of my mechanism here, okay? And we'll just burnish that down so that the adhesive sticks to the metal better. And then just remove that release paper. Like I said, some things it is a little difficult to get release paper off of. My foam tape, not a problem. This stuff, yeah, sometimes it does not want to come off. There we go. And now I'm going to position the little button behind where I've got my press here, okay? And I'm not going to press the adhesive hard. I'm going to first just test. Make sure that when I press the button, which it did not work, which means I don't have it positioned right. There we go. When you press on the press here, the lights light up. Now I can press that in place. There we go. And we can take these wires and basically curl and tuck them up. And then I'm going to take another piece of Scotch tape, just like I did when I was putting the lights in place. And I'm just going to tape that down onto the back of our card. Okay, so now that is basically all done. Now I'm going to add some foam tape to the back of this. That way we can put it onto our card and everything's going to be nice and flat. Okay, now we're ready to put this together. But I just came back from Creativation with something that I have not tried before. And when I just kind of set it up, it's going to work perfect on this card. So I am so excited. You guys may have seen the new Pear Blossom Press A2 Square. Yeah. Anyway, it's great because part of it is where the measurements are. So we've got, let me put it on this side. We've got Rulers on both sides, starting at 0 in the center of an A2. This part is, if you have it vertically, A2 card. So that's right in the center. If you turn it this way, this other one is exactly the same thing, right in the center. And then it's got 2 dots that are at the third marks to help you line everything up. So that part in and of itself is genius. But she also made this into a jig to help us place our panels right in the center of our card. Now, a lot of times I do like 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and that's perfectly fine. This is actually designed for a couple of other sides. One is 3/8 inches and one is 1/2 inch. And this, and I didn't do this, I didn't plan it. I just picked one of the arches, and it happens to work. This one's going to be 1/2 inch, and it works perfect for this. So the way that you use the jig part, there's a groove on one side of it. So you're going to want to have it so that, yeah, you want to have it so that the jig part, the groove is going to be facing down, and then you just slide that right into your card. And that's going to give you a 1/2 inch mat all the way around. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to just slide that in. And then this is going to be placed right there, and it's going to be perfectly lined up. How fun is that? So even though the tape is fabulous, and if you put it down wrong, you can reposition it, you may not have to, because now you have this fun jig as part of that T-square. So we're going to see. This is my first time using it. I promise you guys, I'm going to try to hold everything in place. I'm a little OCD here. I'm just line it up with those 2 edges and pop it down. And it's positioned perfectly, except, okay, I do have to move it. I put it on the back of the card. Okay, let's pop that off. I told you it's not going to tear my cardstock. Did not mean to demo that. That's okay. I'm going to turn it over. So this is the front. We're going to do it again. Okay, we're going to do it again. So now I've got this. Make sure you have it right side up. Right side up. And most folks would probably do this, but I always tend to measure everything from the bottom. Don't know why. So that's why I'm going to do it on this way, and it works perfect. I've got to just slid in. It can't go any further. And then I can place this down right in that corner. And it's perfectly lined up. How super fun. Okay, I'm not done yet. I do have a sentiment. This sentiment is from the Easter Bunny stamp set. It says, I hope your day is eggs-traordinary. This is from Simon Hurley. And I think that is actually a perfect match for this card. So I'm going to go ahead and just adhere that straight on down. And then we are done, believe it or not. And I think I'm going to have it kind of hang off the edge a little bit, which means I'll need a little piece of that best ever foam tape to go right underneath there to make sure everything balances up. Let me grab that real quick. And there we go. A super fun light up Easter card. I think this turned out super cute, and I would love to see if you make something similar. So be sure to tag me at Debbie J's Crafty Corner with your creations so I can, kind of share in the joy. You guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye, guys. That is too cool.